For 6 years, Carl Jung descended into madness. He heard voices. He saw visions. He painted images that haunted his dreams. His colleagues thought he was finished. His reputation crumbled. But what emerged from that darkness became the most revolutionary map of the human soul ever created. 6 years of madness. That's what it took. Jung didn't just study the unconscious from a safe distance. He dove into it. He let it consume him, and he emerged with something precious, the path to becoming who you really are. They call it individuation. It's not therapy. It's not self-help. It's the most dangerous journey you'll ever take because it requires you to face everything you've been running from, every shadow, every fear, every part of yourself you've buried. As Jung himself wrote, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Today, we're going to walk that path together, and by the end, you might just discover who you've been all along, the divided self. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The person you think you are isn't who you really are. Jung discovered that we all wear masks. He called it the persona, the face we show the world, the professional at work, the good parent at home, the loyal friend at dinner. None of these are lies, but none of them are the complete truth either. Mask after mask. That's how we survive society. But here's where it gets dangerous. Most people mistake their masks for their true identity. They forget there's someone underneath. And that forgotten self doesn't disappear. It waits. It grows. It demands to be heard. Have you ever felt like you're playing a role in your own life? Like something essential is missing, but you can't name what it is? That feeling isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's your deeper self knocking at the door. Jung believed this disconnection is the root of most psychological suffering. We've become strangers to ourselves. And the journey to become who you really are starts with admitting you don't know who that is yet, meeting the shadow. Behind every mask lies something darker. Jung called it the shadow, the parts of yourself you've rejected, repressed, and hidden from view. Your jealousy, your rage, your selfishness, your secret desires, everything that didn't fit the person you wanted to be, got thrown into the shadow. And it's been growing in the darkness. Here's what makes this dangerous. The shadow doesn't stay hidden. It leaks out. It sabotages your relationships. It makes you say things you regret. It makes you hate in others what you refuse to see in yourself. As Jung observed, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. That coworker who annoys you, they might be showing you something you've buried. That politician you despise, they might be carrying your rejected traits. The shadow isn't evil, it's just unintegrated. And here's the paradox. The parts of you that feel most shameful often contain your greatest gifts. Your creativity, your passion, your power. They're all waiting in the darkness. But to reclaim them, you have to be willing to look at what you've hidden. The inner opposite. Inside every man lives a woman. Inside every woman lives a man. Jung called these the anima and animus, the inner opposites that complete our psyche. This isn't about gender politics. It's about psychological wholeness. A man who rejects his feminine side becomes rigid, aggressive, emotionally stunted. A woman who rejects her masculine side becomes passive, dependent, unable to act on her own authority. These inner figures first appear in our dreams. They show up as mysterious strangers, romantic figures, sometimes threatening presences. They're trying to get our attention. When a man keeps falling for the same type of woman over and over, Jung would say he's projecting his anima. When a woman keeps attracting the same type of troubled man, she's encountering her animus in the external world. The goal isn't to become the opposite gender. It's to integrate these qualities within yourself, to find your own inner balance, to stop searching for your other half in someone else, because that half was inside you all along. This integration creates what Jung called psychological wholeness, and it changes everything about how you relate to others. Archetypes within. You are not alone in your mind. Ancient patterns live inside you, patterns shared by all of humanity. Jung called them archetypes, and they emerge from the collective unconscious. The hero, the wise old man. The mother, the trickster, the lover, the shadow. These aren't just characters in stories. They're psychological forces that shape your life. When you feel called to an adventure you can't explain, that's the hero awakening. When you seek wisdom in crisis, you're summoning the wise elder. When you nurture and protect, the Great Mother moves through you. These archetypes appear in every culture's mythology because they emerge from our shared human experience. As Jung discovered, the collective unconscious contains the whole spiritual heritage of mankind's evolution, born anew in the brain structure of every individual. Your dreams speak in archetypal language, that recurring nightmare. It's not random, that persistent symbol, it's a message. The archetypes are always trying to guide you toward wholeness, but most people never learn to listen. They dismiss dreams as nonsense. They ignore the mythic dimension of their lives, and they wonder why they feel so disconnected from meaning. The call to change. Individuation rarely begins by choice. It begins with a crisis, a breakdown, a moment when everything you've built stops working. Jung called it the confrontation with the unconscious. Breakdown. Maybe it's a divorce, a job loss, a death, a depression that won't lift, an emptiness that success can't fill. These aren't punishments, they're invitations. When your old identity collapses, something deeper finally has room to emerge. This is exactly what happened to Jung himself. After his break with Freud, he entered what he called his creative illness. For years, he was barely functional. He saw visions. He heard voices. He painted strange images from his dreams. His colleagues thought his career was over. But Jung understood something they didn't. There is no coming to consciousness without pain. The breakdown was the breakthrough. The crisis was the call. And this is true for all of us. Your worst moments often contain your greatest opportunities for transformation, but only if you're willing to descend. Only if you stop running from the darkness and start exploring it. Descent into depths. The path to wholeness goes down, not up. Every mythology knows this. Orpheus descends to the underworld. Inanna strips herself naked as she travels deeper. The hero enters the belly of the whale, down into the darkness. Jung himself made this descent. He called it his Nekia, his night sea journey. He would sit alone, letting images rise from his unconscious. He recorded them in what became the Red Book, hundreds of pages of visions, dialogues with inner figures, and elaborate paintings. It was terrifying work. He sometimes feared he would lose his mind entirely, but he kept going. Why would anyone choose this? Because the treasure you seek is guarded by what you fear most. Your unlived life waits in the places you've avoided. Your authentic self hides behind the very shadows you've been running from. This is not comfortable work. It requires you to question everything you thought you knew about yourself, to sit with difficult emotions instead of numbing them, to follow the thread of your dreams even when they lead to frightening places. But there's no other way to become whole. Integrating parts. The goal of individuation isn't to defeat your shadow or kill your demons. It's to integrate them, to make peace with the warring parts of yourself, to become whole rather than perfect. Integration looks like this. Instead of projecting your anger onto others, you own it. You learn to express it constructively. Instead of chasing your anima or animus in romantic partners, you develop those qualities yourself. Instead of being possessed by archetypes, you relate to them consciously. This is the difference between being lived by your unconscious and actually living your own life. Jung described it beautifully. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. But choice requires consciousness, and consciousness requires the hard work of self-examination. You have to be willing to take back your projections, to admit that the villain in your story might be showing you something about yourself, to recognize that the person you idealize might be carrying qualities you haven't developed. Take it back. Every projection reclaimed is energy returned to you. Every integrated shadow adds to your strength. Every reconciled opposite brings you closer to who you really are. Becoming yourself. At the center of your psyche waits the self, not your ego, not your persona, but the totality of who you are. Jung represented it as a mandala, a circle containing all opposites in perfect balance. Wholeness. The self is both the goal of individuation and the force that drives you toward it. It's the part of you that's been calling you home all along, through dreams, through symptoms, through that persistent feeling that there must be more to life than this. Becoming yourself doesn't mean becoming perfect. It means becoming complete. It means embracing your contradictions instead of resolving them. It means holding the tension of opposites, light and dark, masculine and feminine, strength and vulnerability, without collapsing into either side. As Jung wrote in his final years, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. This is the promise of individuation. Not happiness, though that may come. Not success, though your definition of it will change. But something more precious, the experience of finally being at home in your own skin, of living a life that's truly yours, of dying with the knowledge that you actually lived. This is what it means to become who you really are. And the journey begins the moment you stop running from yourself. We've walked Jung's path together today.